So we basically reached February and you've probably given up on all your New Year's resolutions by now, especially the one where you said that you would reduce the screen time. But here you are, watching this video. And I'm going to make it worse for you, in fact. Because today we're diving into the world of K-dramas. Especially, I'm going to be giving you 5 K-dramas to binge watch.
In case you just have not got that addiction as of yet.
And if you're thinking,
I don't want this romance. I don't want this romance. I'm so done with romance.
February's already talked about romance.
We do not talk about romance.
I got your back. I'm going to be talking about various genres in the K-drama scenes, but I'm not going to reveal them now because I need you to watch this video. First, we have weightlifting fairy Kim Bok-joo. I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of biased, that's why I put it on this. I know I said no romance, but we gotta start. Technically, it's not a romance, it does have romance elements. I feel like every K-drama has that, but this is more of a sports-centered media. And honestly speaking, the reason why I have put this in the list is because I don't like watching sports-related stuff. But yeah, I actually sat and watched all 16, I think there were 16 episodes of this show, and I didn't even realize I was actually watching a sports K-drama. I'm stupid, I know. But I think it was because the progression and the story arc was done so well, you just don't realize how easily the genres slip into each other in this show. Weightlifting fairy Kim Bok-joo follows Bok-joo, who is a weightlifter, one of the best in fact in her university. Fun fact, this was actually inspired by the actual real life story of the Olympic gold medalist Jung Mi-ran. So the drama is her basically navigating through her life, friendships and even love life, where she actually ends up having a crush on one of her childhood best childhood friend's brother. In the beginning, her childhood best friend was making fun of her, but he eventually does try to help her set up with his own brother, but in the process of doing so, he ends up falling for Bok-joo herself. I feel like if you're in the K-pop or K-drama scene, I feel like you must have seen this meme. So yeah, it's from this show. And that is partly why I kind of love this show, because back in the days of yore, in 2016, 2018, whenever the show released, men were mostly, that CEO, your name, or very chivalrous and always thinking about the girl. Whereas at that point of time, for me, I was like new into the scene. I can be highly wrong. There were probably other dramas. This was one of the first dramas that I saw where he was just so comfortable being with her, so he was who he was rather than like manufacturing a completely different personality or appearance. He was fun and playful and definitely a bit annoying, but that's why I liked him. He was not like other boys and I loved him, and I still do love him. The character progression that Kim Bok-joo went through, that really resonated with my personal journey, so that's why I ended up liking the show a lot. But yeah, overall there are a lot of heartwarming moments, right? A lot of comedic timings which like hit perfectly when you just want a nice K-drama to binge watch. Next on our list is When Life Gives You Tangerines. When this was airing, it was all the rage. Like everyone was talking about it, everyone was binge watching it, and rightfully so. It was really good. So much so, I had only seen clips of it online, like on social media and all being shared, and I managed to cry with that. You can imagine how scared I was to actually see the actual show. The show follows the story of Aesun, a young girl from a not-so-great financial background who wishes to become a poet. Set in 1951 Jeju, this show beautifully shows a commentary on what's it like being a woman, overcoming poverty and patriarchy, breaking generational cycles, and so much more without being overly patronizing or on the face. I genuinely loved how it showed how the environment that a person grows up in shapes who they are today. And for that very reason, I kind of have a love-hate relationship with this show. The way they portray Aesun and Gwanshik as parents, where you saw their life stories, and that's why you kind of understand the way that they are as parents also. You don't want to blame them, but you kind of do still get frustrated at certain behaviors that they exhibit, but you understand where they come from. Like how Gwanshik has always been a pillar of support. He was the quiet pillar of support throughout his life as a child towards Aesun, even during their teenage years when they got married. Because of that, he kind of never expressed his feelings and inner thoughts through words, and that does create a rift, although his action speaks way more than his words. Then also, as an adult Aesun, as a parent Aesun, she knew the struggles and the inability to get a higher education as a woman, so she made sure that her daughter got everything that she could not get. But in doing so, she failed to realize how she managed to neglect her son because she gave all her attention to her daughter, and the pressure that comes on the daughter herself to perform because she has got everything, and because of that she cannot crack, she cannot fail, and that is another pressure to deal with on its own. I'm going to move on because I feel like I can give like a whole video essay just on this show because it was just peak masterpiece. So if you're not watched it yet, please watch it, definitely with a huge stack of tissues because you will need it. Moving on to third, we have Thriller, we have Flower of Evil. Fun fact, there's an Indian remake also of the show. That's kind of how I got around to watching the original. The show follows a push and pull between Detective Cha Ji-won and Baek Hee-sung. But if you think this is just another run-of-the-mill cat and mouse chase between detective and murderer, it is definitely not. In fact, these two characters are married. So Baek Hee-sung is seemingly a normal metal welder with his own shop with a loving family and a young 6-year-old daughter. But his facade starts to crumble when his wife starts investigating a 15-year-old murder, which kind of leads back to him. So we eventually come to learn he's an emotionless psychopath, which has occurred because of the kind of traumatic experiences he has had as a child. And he does kind of want to move on from this past life. But the more his wife keeps digging, the more it tends to surface up again. The ending is a bit flawed, but the emotional roller coaster that this show takes you on to reveal all the secrets is definitely worth a watch in my opinion. Let's take a step back in time and go to Moon Lovers. Disclaimer: if you like pain and suffering and are ready to come to with the fact that you're not going to get a season 2, then yeah, go ahead, watch this show. If you're not, still watch the show. You know what? Give yourself some pain. Another fun fact about this show, it's an adaptation of the Chinese novel Startling by Each Step. And this historical drama follows a modern woman who travels back to the Goryeo dynasty and becomes embroiled in the lives of the royal family. She wakes up in the body of a 16-year-old Hesu and finds herself living in the house of the 8th prince Wang Buk, who is married to Hesu's cousin. This show is basically full of love triangles and like intrigue and mysteries and coups and a lot of palace politics, which Hesu herself knows she should not be getting involved in, but inevitably becomes a pawn in all of the palace politics to get the throne. Fair warning, the editing and the pacing is kind of off in this show, but it was kind of bound to happen because the original like C drama itself is like 35 episodes long, and at that point of time in 2016, K-dramas had the standard of 20 episodes, so trying to compress it all into 20 was already a task. But if you like love stories set against a historical backdrop, you will probably end up liking this show. And finally, for all you horror addicts, we have Strangers from Hell. Strangers from Hell basically follows Yoon Jong-yu, who moves from the countryside to Seoul after his college friend offers him a job. While looking for a place to live, he stumbles upon Eden Gorsimon. He is definitely not thrilled about the quality of the hostel or of the abnormal residents. Nevertheless, he does decide to put up with all of this for the next 6 months until he gets enough money to move out. But within the time period that he is staying, he does manage to get creeped out by the fellow residents in the apartment, because drum roll please, this is what he is dealing with. The Ajuma landlady, who seems to be all smiley and jolly but often tends to serve rotten eggs to her guests and seems to forever be marinating human meat and enjoys torturing people who cross her path. Next, a perverted guy who constantly is observing Jong-yu and even holds a knife behind his back. A somewhat retarded twin who seems to be giggly and stuttering, but he does know a lot of information than that he lets on. And lastly, a suave and handsome dentist who savors killing and then extracts your tooth during the torture process. Overall, the eerie atmosphere and like the psychological tension is more than enough reason to give this a nightly binge watch. And there you have it. Here are 5 K-dramas to check out in case you haven't done so already to start your K-drama addiction in the year 2026. Do let me know which K-drama you are excited to check out most out of these 5, or if you have any K-drama suggestions that I should be watching in the year 2026, do let me know in the comments below. And do like, share, subscribe and hype the video if I manage to give you a K-drama addiction for the year 2026. That will be all for today. Thank you.